Welcome back to the Team to Beat Miami Heat podcast, your one-stop shop for daily Miami Heat content. My name is Amir. For today's episode, just want to do a quick recap on the preseason game between the Miami Heat and the New Orleans Pelicans. The Miami Heat ended up winning that game 101 to 99, and it was a close game at the very end, even though the Miami Heat were up by 20 points at one point towards the end of the third quarter, and the Miami Heat were able to hold on by a thread in this kind of exciting preseason game. So the big storylines here were Tyler Herro was back, and so was Jaime Jaquez from their groin strains, which is a good sign. They only missed one preseason game and the training camp scrimmage. And so Tyler Herro was thrusted back into the starting lineup ahead of Alec Burks, who actually ended up not playing at all yesterday. He got some rest, which is totally fine. He's one of our older veterans on the team, so it makes sense. But Tyler Herro was back in the starting lineup, and so we finally got to see a glimpse of what the Miami Heat's potential starting five unit could look like next season. That starting five is Terry Rozier, Tyler Herro, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, which are the core four that Spo mentioned he wants to see play more together this upcoming season, and then Jovic at the four. So that is the lineup that played together, that played 0 minutes together last season due to injuries across the board. Terry Rozier got injured after joining the Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler obviously missed over 20 games. Tyler Herro missed half the season. Bam missed 10 or 12 games or so. And then Jovic missed some games as well with injuries as well. So it was good to see this starting lineup play pretty well together. I mean, they had their moments where it looked a little clunky and the spacing wasn't great, but there were other times when the spacing did look good. They were playing 5 on, and there was times where Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler were on the wings, spreading the floor for Terry Rozier and Tyler Herro to get to the basket or get to that short mid-range floater or jump shot, and it looked pretty well. I mean, having Jovic in there, you have a 6'11" guy who put on some size, weighs like 240 pounds now or 250, whatever it was. And we know the way he likes to play. He likes to play transition basketball. It looks a lot smoother and a lot cleaner when you have Jovic in the lineup. He's just more fluid when it comes to the fast break. He needs to improve on his passing, but passing is one of his strengths. Playmaking is something that he brings to the table at that power forward position. We saw some pin down screens and some flare screens for Terry Rozier, for Tyler Herro. And so we were able to see some lobs because of those pin down hammer screens, which was nice to see. We saw that, I think that was the first player or second player of the game, where Niko Jovic threw an alley-oop to Jimmy Butler, but it was just slightly off and Jimmy missed the dunk. But I'm happy to see Jimmy Butler going up for alley-oops in the preseason. He did that in the first game as well. Jimmy Butler played back-to-back preseason games, which is something he hasn't done in a long time. I don't expect him to play all, I think it's 4 games or 5 games, whatever it may be. I don't expect Jimmy Butler to play every game, but it's a good sign that Jimmy Butler is locked in, and he's looking to play as much as he can and as many games as possible next season, which I'm looking forward to. But either way, Terry and Tyler looked good as a backcourt. That was going to be one of the biggest questions coming into training camp and the preseason was, can Tyler Herro and Terry Rozier coexist? They played 10 games or so last season together before Terry got hurt, and it did look a little redundant and clunky because both guards are not the best defensively. They are both on-ball type of players. They don't really play that well off-ball. They need the ball in their hands to penetrate the defense and to create shots for themselves. They're not really the best catch and shoot guys, even though I think Tyler Herro is a better catch and shoot player than Terry Rozier. But having them both on the floor in this preseason game, they both look good. Spo mentioned one thing that he liked in particular with the duo is that they were playing fast. Like, they make the Miami Heat move fast. So does Niko Jovic. Obviously, Bam Adebayo likes to play in transition. Jimmy Butler is pretty much the only guy who likes to slow it down. But if Jimmy's healthy, he's going to be on board, which I think is great because we're not going to play through Jimmy. We're going to play with Jimmy. We need him to facilitate. Obviously, we're going to go to him at times, but we can't just slow the game down, throw it to Jimmy in the block, and let him go to work like he used to. I don't think that's what Jimmy wants at this point. I think he's going to be more content allowing other players to score. He's going to be facilitating more. He's going to be focusing on defense more. He's going to be shooting more threes also. So I don't think he's going to completely operate in that paint, but he is going to attack. And we saw that Jimmy Butler was able to do that to a certain degree in this game, more so in the first game. But either way, I think Tyler and Terry looked pretty good. They both had efficient games. We'll get into the box score in a little bit, but they look good together, which I was happy to see. Bam Adebayo continues to look good. He put up a couple 3-point attempts, not 7 or whatever it was like he did in the first game. He shot 0 for 2, which is unfortunate, but he still is showing the willingness to shoot threes every single game as he should. Spo said there's going to be games where he shoots 7-8 threes per game, or he might shoot like not even more than 2, which totally makes sense. It depends on the game setting. It depends on the matchups. It depends on if the defense is sagging off of him, and he's going to have to make players earn his trust. Like he's going to have that above the break 3 more often than not. And so he's going to have to knock it down early on in his first few attempts in order to get that big, to more like play in his face and guard him straight up, which is going to be beneficial for the Miami Heat because Bam is typically quicker than most big men in the NBA, so he can take them off the dribble. So Bam had a good game. Jimmy Butler a little quiet, didn't do too much. But yeah, the intriguing thing was we got to see this starting lineup. Didn't start off the best, but in the second quarter they were like a +2. They shot 8 for 13 together on in the field. Didn't play for the second half, but I'm happy to see that they got some experience together, and hopefully they can continue to develop chemistry and develop and grow on the offensive end. I think offense is something that we need to focus on. We need more offensive firepower, hence why we traded for Terry Rozier last season. We need Jimmy Butler to be healthy. A healthy Jimmy Butler will help us win more games. So good to see that. Let's go into the box scores though, real quick. Then we can talk about the second unit who did come in for the starters. But let's look at the box real quick and talk about the starters. So everybody except for Jovic played, 15 minutes or above. Spo played 18 guys in the rotation. That's going to happen during the preseason. Obviously, in the regular season, he's going to stick to 9 to 10 players, I would say, depending on the game. But Jovic didn't have a great game. 1 for 5 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3. Missed his first 4 threes, finally hit one in that first quarter. Shot 4 threes like quick within the first 5 minutes of that quarter, but he was getting open looks. He was actually frustrated, he said, at the end of the game, that, in his role, he understands he needs to hit the 3. He's one of the guys who they're going to rely on. Like, obviously, Tyler is going to be their best 3-point shooter. Him and Terry are going to be the other 2 they need to rely on more. Jimmy and Bam, if they hit 3s, that's going to be a bonus. So he didn't play the best, but he didn't play awful either. Let me go back. He had 3 rebounds. Gosh, sorry about this. So he's 1 for 4 from 3. So he had 3 points, 1 assist, 3 rebounds, 4 personal fouls, which is not good in the limited minutes. But he got the rebounds, which is what we need. If he's not going to be able to hit that 3, like, we need him to at least rebound, and he was able to do so. Jimmy Butler played 17 minutes, 1 for 3 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3, 4 points, 2 assists, 1 rebound. Nothing there, really, honestly. Jimmy wasn't playing as aggressive as he was the first game, but again, it's the preseason against the Pelicans, so no big deal. Bam, 3 for 5 from the field, 6 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 0 fouls. He looked good. And the story again was the backcourt duo of Tyler Herro and Terry Rozier. They played the best. 4 for 9 for Herro, 5 for 9 for Terry Rozier, 12 and 11 points. They both had decent amount of assists, 3 and 2, 4 and 2 rebounds. You see there. So those guys did really good. The interesting takeaway was that, so first takeaway is that I think that's going to be the starting lineup going into the regular season. They look all right, which is a good thing. The second takeaway is I think that the first 5 coming off the bench are going to be the 5 that came in as the second rotation after the second half. So into the third quarter, we saw Kevin Love, Duncan Robinson, Haywood Highsmith, and Drew Smith, I believe, were the 5 that came in. Kevin Love, only 7 minutes. He's old. He's not going to play that much. Was effective though, 2 for 3 from the field, had 5 points, 1 rebound. Duncan Robinson, really good game. He had 12 points off the bench, 5 for 8 shooting, 2 for 4 from 3, 2 assists, 2 rebounds. He also had that hezzy um, move on the sideline, basically the Steve Smith, and he was able to get to the rim and finish with a layup. He did that on Wemby last season against the Spurs, which was awesome. He pulled the Steve Smith hezzy on him on the baseline and got to do an up and under reverse layup, which was clean. Duncan Robinson is looking healthy. He is looking good. He is looking like a leader off of our bench. Good veteran presence, good passer. Was facilitating, playing off the dribble. Again, not just relying on threes. He's not a 3-point specialist anymore. He's much more than that, which is good to see. Haywood Highsmith, 7 boards, huge, 6 points. Good for him. 3 for 5 from the field. Didn't shoot any threes. He's going to have to shoot more threes in the regular season. Hopefully he can get back to that 40% from 3 clip, which will make him a valuable 3-and-D player. He's one of our best defenders off our bench, one of the best point of attack defenders that we have on this team. So we're going to need him. Nasir Little didn't look good at all. 15 minutes, 0 for 7 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3. He had 1.2 rebounds. He did hustle his ass off. You could see that he does have those intangibles. He does have the passion, diving for loose balls, getting some steals and some blocks. I don't have that here in this box score, but he looked good in terms of effort. But when it comes to his offense, just not good. And if you can't score on this Miami Heat team, like, we could rely on you for defense, but we need you to also score. So I don't see him making this roster, unfortunately. I don't see him playing over a Highsmith. I don't see him playing over a Drew Smith, which we'll get into. Thomas Bryant, solid 10 minutes. He was 4 for 5 from the field, brings a lot of energy off the bench, 9 points, 1 rebound. He's fine. You know, he's going to be used sparingly, I think, throughout the year with Kevin Love. And the thing here is, I think Kelly Ware is not in that 10-man rotation. He's probably going to be the number 11 guy, which some people are going to be pissed off at. Even Pelle Larsson might be number 12 because we still have Josh Richardson coming back into the mix. This team is super deep. So there are going to be guys like Keshad Johnson and some other undrafted guys who are probably not going to play unless there's injuries to a Jimmy Butler or a Jaime or a Haywood or whoever it may be, to a Bam, Kevin Love, etc. But Kelly Ware didn't look that great. He didn't look horrible, but 14 minutes, he was 2 for 5 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3, 5 rebounds, which is good. He had 3 personal fouls really quickly in his 14 minutes. He had 6 points. Wasn't a focal point on offense. I think he was looked off a lot by Josh Christopher and other guys in there. But the big issue is that just with the defense, again, not really taking the right angles and position when it comes to his stance. And when it comes to blocking, though, like, he's trying to block every shot, which I think is overkill, which gets him in trouble, which gets him caught up in the air a lot, which could cause him to get future injuries, landing on someone's ankle. Like, he's just going up really high, really aggressively, trying to block like almost every possession, which he needs to be smarter about that. You can't block every possession. Like, obviously you need to impact and try to put your hand up when it comes to people shooting in the paint, but like, he's going for those big blocks every time, and he needs to work on that on his defense. Josh Christopher, not the most efficient game. He was playing more of like a point guard for that third unit that came in. That third unit that came in was like Khalil Ware, Josh Christopher, Pelle Larsson, Zion Pullen got some minutes as well. But he was playing more of that facilitator role, which is not his role. He's more of a shooting guard. He shot 2 for 8, 1 for 5 from the field. He did have 3 assists, though, 5 points and 5 rebounds. He had the game-winning assist, essentially, to Pelle Larsson, which is great. But, yeah, I think we need to see him as more of that microwave-type scorer off our bench. Drew Smith, solid game in 16 minutes. He came in with that second unit. Looks like he's going to be that backup point guard, perhaps. Him or Alec Burks. Really depends on matchups. But he shot 1 for 4 from the field. Not great. One for 3 from 3. Not the best. But he had 4 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. I think he had 2 blocks in the steal. Really good defensively. Really good aggression and tenacity on the defensive end, which is what we like to see. Very solid, traditional type of point guard. He gets folks in their spots, makes the right passes. Jaime Jaquez was in that second unit. He played his first game of the preseason, coming off, like I mentioned earlier, that groin injury. He looked solid, 3 for 6 from the field. Didn't shoot any threes either. Had 6 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds. He looked good defensively. You could tell that he's been working on that. He had a couple steals. But yeah, Jaime was energetic, moving fast, aggressive. He looked good coming off the bench. Pelle Larsson, didn't have the most efficient game. Obviously, the first game he played was much better, but this game, 0 for 3 from 3, 1 for 6 from the field. He did have 6 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. He's very versatile. So if he's not going to be scoring, at least he'll be playing defense. Good two-way player. He's going to be facilitating. He's going to be attacking the rim. He's going to be rebounding, and he's going to be taking charges. So he is a plug and play type of guy. He got fouled at the end of the game, and he was able to hit 2 clutch free throws to help the Miami Heat ultimately win and seal the game. So good game for the Miami Heat, even though they blew almost a 20-point lead going into that fourth quarter. But again, that was the third unit of the Miami Heat team. They're not going to get a lot of run in the regular season unless there's injuries. So not a big deal, but good to see the Miami Heat finally get their first preseason win. We'll see what kind of other rotations the Heat are going to tinker with. I'm sure they're going to try to get Duncan Robinson with a few other guys. I would love to see Pelle Larsson somehow play with some of the starters if possible. He's been playing with his Las Vegas teammates mostly. I would like to see him play with even a Duncan Robinson, because Duncan Robinson is one of our best alley-oop lob passers. And so that's going to be helpful playing the pick and roll with Pelle Larsson. So we'll see what happens, what kind of rotation Spose puts together moving forward. But anyway, that's all I think I have for this episode. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel.